Hi everybody, I'm Scott Sheely with the Lancaster County Agriculture Council. I want to welcome you back to the second day of our virtual Family Farm Day at Oregon Dairy. The Ag Council has been working with Oregon Dairy for the last 10 years in bringing Family Farm Days to the Lancaster community. Unfortunately, we can't do it this year because of our COVID situation, but we are really happy to have the privilege to bring you our virtual offering. We have a variety of things going today. Our theme really today is around conservation, and we'll really speak to the idea of the way farmers are doing what they can to preserve the soil and the water. And we have a number of activities that will be focused on that.
One of the highlights of Family Farm Days for many people is the stream study, when the guests, the adults and kids, get to come down to the creek, take off their shoes or wear water shoes and walk into the creek and pick up rocks and look at what critters are living in the creek. But since we can't do that, we did ask Sally to come, and she is going to do a virtual stream study for you. So I hope you enjoy watching what you could be doing if you would be here.
Hi, my name is Sally. I work for the Lancaster County Conservation District, and I welcome you to join in our stream study today. And here at Oregon Dairy, there's some special features that help to improve the stream, and I just want to share with you. I'm standing next to this oak tree, and this is planted in what's referred to as a riparian buffer. A riparian means that it's close to the water, so the stream is right behind us. And buffer basically means that each one of these trees is here to protect and enhance the stream as it moves onto the Chesapeake Bay. You don't have to own a farm to plant a riparian buffer. It just so happens that here at Oregon Dairy, they gave up part of their pasture to return the edge of the stream to a forest-like setting. This will eventually grow in, and the trees will help in a lot of different ways. So I just want to point out a few of those different benefits. First of all, each one of these trees as it grows will help to shade the stream. The shade helps to cool the water. Cool water is what fish in Pennsylvania enjoy. So as the water cools, we'll see all different types of biodiversity and different types of animals enjoying the water. Each one of these trees is also a home, a habitat to other creatures. So as the trees grow, you might see other types of wildlife and insects coming and enjoying this little hallway or corridor along the water. It gives them a safe place to travel from location to location. It gives them food as they travel, and it helps to shelter them as well. So in this buffer, all of the trees that are planted are what we call native to Pennsylvania, meaning that the wildlife and the insects that visit them will recognize these trees because they're part of what they need to survive. And as fall season arrives here on the farm, each one of these leaves will fall to the ground, and if some of them happen to fall into the stream, it's a wonderful benefit because it's going to provide food to the bugs that actually live in the water. If the bugs have food through the leaves of the trees, guaranteed that we'll have fish that will be in this stream to eat those bugs. So it's all part of a food chain, and Oregon Dairy is helping to sustain that. The other benefits are related to us as humans and our activities. Behind me is not only the stream, but up above is the store and restaurant. Up there, that's a hard roof and a hard parking lot. When the rain of summer hits those two, the roof or the parking lot area, the water as it comes down towards the stream will be warmer because the roof and the parking lot area pick up the heat from the sun. So if the trees are here along with this grass that hasn't been mowed, as that warm water comes down, the tree roots and the grasses will actually help to absorb that heated water and prevent any thermal changes in the stream. So as I said, you don't have to own a farm to do this. If you have a stream in your own backyard, you're welcome to just let the grasses grow up. We call this a no-mow zone. You're not going to mow it short. and let the trees grow up, and that actually helps the stream, and you'll enjoy the stream a lot more if you get into the water throughout the summer. At the Lancaster County Conservation District, we work to help care for the water resources throughout the county. All of our water resources are fresh water, and today we're actually going to survey the stream to see what's living in it. What we find in the stream will actually tell us about the health of the water. Now we could go down there and get a sample of water and run a lot of chemical tests on it. That will give us a snapshot of the stream just for today. But if we look for what's actually living in the water, that will tell us long-term over a series of months how healthy the stream is, because these critters that we're gonna find, they're going to be living in the water from anywhere from 6 months to the entire year. So as we go down to the stream, what we're looking for are aquatic bugs that live in the water. Now they have a fancy name. They go by macroinvertebrates, and macro means that we'll be able to see them with our own eyes. I don't have a microscope with me. To be an invertebrate means they have no backbone, so they actually wear a shell to help to protect them and give their body structure, so they're not just a bunch of jelly laying in the stream. And to be an invertebrate means that the shell will eventually, in most cases, actually come off of the insect, and inside, as they transform through their life cycle, they're going to grow wings. You can't really fly in the water too well, so instead, as an adult, the bugs have to find a blade of grass, a rock, a tree root. They walk out of the water, they shed that exoskeleton, and their wings develop. That's when they turn into adults. These bugs actually have a shorter life as adults, and in the water, they have a longer life. It's a little different than us going through our child phase into adulthood. So some of these bugs, as they emerge and fly and we see them, they're only going to live for 1 day. Some of the bugs don't even have a mouth as an adult. They're not going to take time to eat or drink water. They're basically part of the food chain for bats, for birds, for other critters to eat them. But their main role is to lay eggs back in the stream that they emerge from to start the next life cycle for other bugs. So I have with me a scientific chart of macroinvertebrates. It's divided into 3 rows. Each row helps us to figure out how the bugs sustain themselves over time, and if they are able to survive in water that is warm and polluted, water that is cool and less polluted, and water that is very cold and has hardly any pollution in it at all. So in Lancaster County, we have all different types of streams, and that means that we can find pretty much any one of these macroinvertebrates living in our streams today. Our goal is to find as many different types of bugs as we can, because that shows that we have diversity in the water. If we only find one type of bug, that tells us there's not a lot of food choices, and the stream might have some issues with being less tolerant of, or being more tolerant of pollution, and have some issues on the land use around it or what's coming downstream. So we'll talk about these as we look for them. I just want to highlight some of the tools that we can use. This is a D net. You can see the shape of the letter D. We'll put the flat edge on the stream floor, let the pocket of the pouch go downstream, and if we turn the rocks and turn over what's in front of the pouch, anything that's hanging onto the rock should go into the pocket of the net. These bugs, as I said, they're small and they want to survive. They don't want to be eaten by a fish. So they're clinging to rocks, they're clinging to vegetation in the stream, and they're trying to hide and be camouflaged. A small net, aquatic net like this will also work if you're cleaning a rock and you want to catch things in there. And finally, the last thing that we can use is connected to our arms, our 2 hands. If we pick up rocks and we turn them over and we look at them, you should be able to see some of the critters, the macroinvertebrates crawling around on the rock. So if you have an opportunity to walk into a stream throughout the summer, you can still look for macroinvertebrates. You don't have to be here at Oregon Dairy. I do want to share that on behalf of our Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, none of the critters that we take from the stream are things that we want to take home to our own house and put in an aquarium. By law, they're all going to remain here in the water. So we'll just look at them for a moment and then we'll return them back to their habitat. I'm going to take the nets down and we'll see if we can catch some macroinvertebrates and then identify what we find. I have boots on today because the water is cold, which is really good. And you can see there are many rocks in the stream, which also provides a lot of shelter and habitat for the critters. And then this gives you a close-up view of all the different plants that also help to provide shelter and habitat, food sources for the macros. So I'm gonna put that flat edge down on the stream floor. And then I'm gonna walk in front, do my best dance moves and my hip waders here, turning over some rocks, scraping into the net any macroinvertebrates. And then I could also just reach in and just clean those rocks off, any plant life. And we do have some things in our net. They're quite small, so we'll take them out and look at them in our study tray. So this is an example of some of the things that you might find in a cold water stream. Because the stream here at Oregon Dairy has limestone rocks as the base, we see several of the same types of bugs because they like to live in a stream that has a lot of calcium, and limestone rocks have calcium in them. So this is one of them. It's called a scud or a freshwater shrimp. This little guy is the same as a saltwater shrimp, but if you're thinking, hey, I could go out and capture that and eat that for supper, if you see it against the size of my nail, you'd know that you'd have to capture thousands of them to equal the taste and flavor of one saltwater shrimp. He's in the tolerant level or the middle row of our chart. His stomach is actually filled with little gills that are in the shape of hairs. So he swims on his side and he does little stomach crunches to be able to put water into his body so that he can take the oxygen out of the water to survive. The other one that's common to limestone streams are these sow bugs. Sow bugs are the cousin to roly-polies. If you've ever been digging in a garden or in your yard and you've come across a land or soil-loving roly-poly, this is very similar. It's just that they're an aquatic-based type of bug. Now, over here, this guy is actually a black fly. We will often encounter these if we're sitting outside kind of in a campground or say down at the beach. It's bigger than a housefly and they will sit on your skin and bite. It would be an indicator of some pollution in the water. They're very tolerant of any type of pollutants and can pretty much survive through those. But they actually will stick onto a rock, and then on their head they kind of have a crown of antennas, and they eat things as they've come down through the stream. And then this guy is really interesting. He's totally flat, kind of like Flat Stanley if you've ever read that book, but it's called a planaria or flatworm. And right now his head is going down into the tray, and because he's so flat you can actually see through his eyes. And just to share something that might make you say ooh or really interesting, if a fish would come along and be able to eat only his head, he can actually regenerate or regrow his head. He has that ability. Now in my sample this morning I did not come up with any crayfish, but I know the stream does have crayfish in it. Crayfish have some neat adaptations as well. They're able to regenerate a claw if they should happen to lose one in a stream where, say, the rocks got tumbled over on them during a storm. But they are also predators in the stream, which is a good thing. We need that whole predator-prey relationship. And so each of these bugs has a different type of food source, or they provide a food source to other living things in the water. And it's important that they all exist because, as I mentioned earlier, it shows that we have biodiversity. We want to see as many different things in the water as possible, and that tells us that we have a healthy stream. So looking at where we are right now today, we'd say that this qualifies as a stream that is improving, and it has good health. It's not poor, it's not quite excellent yet, but it does have lots of impacts from all different types of land uses. For example, upstream, we know there's lots of homes and houses that have a lot of those hard surfaces, like roofs or driveways, and it makes it difficult for water to get back into the soil and regenerate. So any runoff might contain types of pollutants that would come from a car that was leaking oil, or fertilizers or pesticides used in yards and lawns. But all of those different impacts actually are impacted in what lives in the stream. And it's great to see the benefits of what's going on here at Oregon Dairy to help the stream to come back to health as it's heading to the Chesapeake Bay.
So we got to see the stream study, and now we are out in the middle of the cornfield. We do no-till farming here at Oregon Dairy, and Sally is back with us from the Conservation District, and she is going to talk about no-till farming and conservation practices.
The choices that a farmer makes in how they prepare the fields for planting can impact the yield or the amount of crop that they're able to harvest each year. And at Oregon Dairy, they've made great choices to not only improve the yield, but also care for the environment. Today we're going to look at their fields that are all no-till. That means that there's no plow that's cutting through the soil, turning the soil over, and leaving that soil open at any time during the year. Instead, the no-till practices that Oregon Dairy has chosen, as well as many farms throughout Lancaster County, improves the soil and helps the soil as the plants grow. So you can look throughout the field that I'm standing in, as well as all the fields behind me, and each one of them is no-till. Even the pasture that's next to the stream is growing grass for the beef to eat and enjoy, but there's nobody plowing or turning that soil over as the animals are in there. So how does no-till work? Well, in the field, instead of actually turning the soil over, machinery cuts a small path into the soil that's very shallow, but it plants the seed deep enough that it can grow even if another plant is growing in the field or has grown there recently. So this field that we're standing in is currently growing corn. It's just about as tall as my ankle. It will get taller than me throughout the summer, but prior to this, earlier in the year, there was rye growing. Rye was cut and harvested and is turned into feed for the cows, and the corn again will be feed corn for the cows eventually. But the no-till process doesn't damage the soil as much, and they're still able to get as much, if not more, harvested in each of the fields. So as you look down each row, you'll see that there's just a small gentle cut into the soil. The seeds are planted. There's other types of no-till where the seeds are kind of injected into the soil through a crop that's already there. And that means that when the rains come through, or even snow, if there was a different crop planted during the winter months, any of those inclement weathers, when the rain hits, it doesn't have as much power to move the soil because the plants are there to help hold the soil in place. All of the root systems from these plants hold the soil there so that it can't move, so that it can't run downhill, get into the stream, and cause pollution. This type of planting goes back generations. It's just that it's becoming more popular as there's new machinery and new options available for farmers to use.
So this tractor is equipped with auto steer. I set a pattern, a red line it's following right now, and then so I'm not holding the steering wheel at all. So I can watch the planter and all my gauges. Back there's the no-till planter. This farmer spread some manure, and I'm planting right between the rows of last year's corn. And then he didn't till it at all. And it's also equipped with auto shut-off rows as well. So as we get to the end here, you'll be able to see the green lights there on the screen. Half of it's mapping, half of it's my planner telling what, so I can watch what each row is doing. You'll see those green lights go off one at a time as we overlap the end here, and then so we don't waste any seed, and so we don't double the population either. Then I'll try to hold it and steer, and you can watch the auto steering gauge as well. There goes the first row, counting down. When they all turn off, I'll raise the planter and spin around. Now the planter's going up. Make a loop. Press a little button here on my joystick. Engage my auto steer. The wheels are turning by itself. And then the same thing will happen as I go in. I'm lowering the planter now. And as each one overlaps, each row will start one at a time there. You can see them starting up. So yeah, we save seed and then save a lot of seed this way. We save around 10% worth of seed with each row shutting off and starting right when it should.
Hi, I'm Sarah and I am the Lancaster County Dairy Princess. Pennsylvania dairy farms are home to 500,000 cows, which produce high quality and delicious milk and dairy products. Farmers are committed to excellence and take their jobs as stewards of the environment seriously. But of course, like all animals, cows need to eat, and what goes in always comes back out. Cows eat 24 pounds of feed and can poop up to 65 pounds of manure a day. That's 12 tons of poop a year. On a farm, nothing is wasted, even what is considered to be waste. Here at Oregon Dairy, we use what is called a methane digester to produce electricity using cow manure. The digester heats up the manure to produce large amounts of methane gas. Then, an engine attached to a generator uses the gas to produce up to 120 kilowatts of electricity per hour. That electricity is used not only to power the farm, but also part of Oregon Dairy's grocery store. Methane digesters have become more and more popular in the dairy industry since they utilize the power of poop. Cow poop can be used for more than just energy. Farmers use additional poop to make fertilizer for their crops, using the valuable nutrients in the manure to enrich the soil. Not only that, but manure is used to make special bedding for cows to keep them nice and comfortable. Farmers use not only poop but other food waste from local restaurants and landfills to produce compost. This reduces the amount of waste going into a landfill and helps their crops grow big and strong. Milk is healthy for your body, and it's produced in a way that is healthy for the environment. Besides energy and fertilizer, these waste management practices help to reduce pollution in waterways, and it's made an amazing impact. Pollution in the Chesapeake Bay has been reduced thanks to farmers doing their part to keep the environment healthy. Farmers take excellent care of their animals and land, and you can be assured that your milk comes from a good place.
Thank you for joining us on day 2 of Family Farm Days. We hope you had fun learning about the conservation practices that we do here at Oregon Dairy, but remember, a lot of other farmers do the same things that we do. Remember to join us tomorrow for day 3 of Family Farm Days and also our last day. Don't forget about the scavenger hunt. Click the link to participate in that. Everybody who participates will be entered to win a prize bundle of lots of goodies that you're going to want.